Most of the conditions looked at in the book were at some point blamed on parents. There was a theory called imaginationism that went through the 18th century that said that women who had children who were dwarfs or in some other way deformed had that experience because they had lascivious desires that were being expressed in this way. There were theories up until the middle of the 20th century saying that autism and schizophrenia were caused by cold and withholding parents. There were many of these theories in circulation. For a lot of the entities described in the book, we've now moved on. We don't say to parents, you made your child schizophrenic, or you made your child autistic, or you made your child a dwarf. Crime is different. We still blame the parents. We still constantly say, in our household, we brought the children up differently, and that kind of thing didn't happen. The burden of that blame is terrible, and it's counterproductive. Blaming parents for their children's transgressions doesn't make those transgressions go away. It just traumatizes the parents. Looking at families, I wanted to see whether having a child who did something was similar as an experience to having a child who was something. So you have a child who is a dwarf, and you have a child who commits a crime, and that's a distinction. But what I found was that they were very similar. The parents of a dwarf are presented with a child they may not know how to love. The parents of a criminal are presented with a child who's done things that may seem to act against love. What I found over and over again was that the love was actually fairly strong and fairly resilient. I interviewed the mother of someone who had committed a terrible and atrocious crime, killing many people and becoming an object of public vituperation. She said to me, I used to think if I hadn't gone to the college I did, if I hadn't met my husband, then these things wouldn't have happened, and I used to wish for that. But I've really thought about it, and I've decided that I love the children I had so much that I don't want to imagine a life without them, even with this terrible thing that happened. So while I know that it would have been better for the world if my son had never been born, I've decided that it would not have been better for me.